Hey guys, welcome back to the Music Mindset channel. Man, as you can see in the thumbnail, man, this big story that happened back in the day, man, I found this amazing. And it got a little traction today about the day that Keith Moon passed out on the drums and guy had to take over for him and stuff like that, the band Who. I'm not too familiar with these guys. I remember hearing about them back in the day when I was a kid and how popular they were and everything like that. But the story just reminded me, and I want to tell you a quick story before we get into exactly what happened and look at some of that video when Keith passed out and the kid came in and took his place. It just reminded what was funny about it. I was thinking about a time when I was doing shows and I was doing this festival, and my drummer, he didn't really pass out. He was, I later found out this dude was, had a strong addiction and stuff like that. And I had hired him on the fly to do this big event I was going to do. And man, there was a couple thousand people out there in the crowd and stuff like that. And all I remember is that looking back and the drummer looked at me and said, "Hey man, I got to go." And so I'm standing on stage getting ready. We did a couple of songs, and it's successful songs and stuff like that. We had a pretty good band. And he just looked at me and said, "Man, I got to go." And the bass player looked at me and said, "What'd he say?" I said, "He says he's got to leave." And not only did he say he had to leave, he actually started packing up. He started taking down the drums and and putting them in a case and walking over and loading them in his car. And this was right after we finished the song, and he's like, "Man, I gotta be somewhere." And I'm like, holy crap, man, what, I mean, like I said, there were a couple thousand people out there, and I had no choice but to finish that show without a drummer. You know what I mean? You know, not to pat myself on the back, I had a pretty tight group, so we did it in a way that the audience could not recognize the music, the singing, the instrumentation was so good that they didn't actually, they knew something was wrong and they clapped. They gave us the and beat with the hand claps, and we just kept pushing on, man. I mean, that was, you talking about somebody sweating bullets, but it's a big show. And there are a lot of people there, and there was nothing else I could do but keep going. I couldn't walk off the stage. And that story reminds me of what happened here with Keith Moon. It's a little bit different, though. Keith, he's, from what I hear, is trying to take some horse pills to calm himself down or something to the effect of that, and ends up passing out, and they call somebody up from the audience. But I'm going to let Mr. B-Man tell you a little bit about that story, and then I'll come back and finish it up. Man, wow. B-Man, what you got, man?
Thanks, Mr. Mindset. Here's what went down on November 20th, 1973, at the Cow Palace in Daly City, California. The Who was riding high on the success of their album Quadrophenia, but there was a lot of tension in the air. This was their first American show in 2 years, and Keith Moon, their drummer, was feeling the pressure. Before the concert, Moon was so nervous that he vomited backstage. To calm down, he took some tranquilizers and washed them down with some brandy. Unfortunately, that silly stunt hit him hard during the performance. By the time they were halfway through the song Won't Get Fooled Again, Moon's drumming became sloppy and slow. Falling apart, he was taken off stage. But after taking a cortisone shot, he swore he was good and tried to barge back on stage to the show. Nope! Eventually, he slumped over his drum kit, unconscious. It was clear that Moon was done for the night. Now with Moon whisked away from medical attention, and by the way, he eventually had to have his stomach pumped. The band tried to play on without him, but it was becoming a flail fest by the second. So there on stage was Pete Townsend from the band, who was so desperate that he started asking the crowd out loud if anyone could come on stage and help them.
Anybody playing the drums?
Well, enter a young dude named Scot Halprin. He was a 19-year-old kid who had actually scalped tickets to get in the show. He was just there to enjoy the concert and lay low, but when Moon passed out, Halprin's friends saw an opportunity. He then nudged Halprin and started yelling out to the security guards that Halprin could fill in. That's when the legendary concert promoter Bill Graham, out of desperation, stepped up and asked Halprin if he could really do it. Without hesitation, and having a little familiarity with the songs, Halprin said yes. He then took a shot of brandy, and then this young cat was brought on stage to take his place behind Moon's massive drum kit. The band kicked things off with a blues jam called Smokestack Lightning, and then transitioned into Spoonful to test Halprin out. Finally, they played a 9-minute version of Naked Eye. Halprin was physically exhausted by the end, but he was more than adequate and managed to keep up with the band. The night ended with Roger Daltrey, Pete Townsend, John Entwistle, and Scot Halprin taking a bow together. The Hugh even gave Halprin a concert jacket as a token of appreciation, though it was stolen shortly afterward. This unforgettable moment solidified Halprin's place in rock history. Unfortunately, Halprin passed away in 2008 at the age of 54 due to an inoperable brain tumor, but his legacy as the kid who saved the Who's show lives on. Now, while this was a legendary night for Scot Halprin, it was also a stark moment that foreshadowed the struggles Keith Moon would face in the years to come. Known for his wild lifestyle, Moon's health and behavior continued to decline after that night. Sadly, less than 5 years later, on September 7, 1978, Keith Moon died of an overdose of hemynevrin, a drug prescribed to combat his alcohol withdrawal. He was only 32 years old. Moon's passing marked the end of an era for The Who, and he remains one of rock's most iconic and tragic figures.
Yeah, man, that's how it goes, man. That kid saved the day. Man, I tell you what, The Who were in trouble. But the singer, he did the smart thing. He called out to the audience. I mean, it was kind of dangerous thing because you don't know what you're getting. But a lot of times what I found that even some of the concerts that I did, that a lot of people in the audience are musicians. There's a good majority of the people in the audience that are coming there to listen to music and get ideas, and they're actually musicians. So they were lucky enough to find this guy, Scott, who evidently knew some of their songs or whatever, and he stepped up to the plate and hit a home run and saved the day. That you can see them taking a bow together and stuff like that. Yeah, I think that's an incredible story, man. But I saw that getting a little traction today, that's bringing up that old story from 1973. And it just reminded me some of the things I experienced along the way a few years back doing shows. I mean, in a band, man, you just never know what to expect or what could happen. You know, a guitar player broke his, I've been in a show where a bass guitar player, his strings broke and he had no bass guitar player for most of the show, or guitar player breaks a string, or any type of crazy thing like that happen. And you just got to be ready to go, man, because if you got those people out there waiting to hear a good song, hear good music, you got to do whatever. But I find that very fascinating story. I never heard of that back in the day, but rest in peace, Keith Moon and Scot Halprin. They both participated in an incident I guess is going to be in the history book somewhere. I find it interesting. I thought I'd bring it to you, and I hope that you guys enjoy that. And I hope you like the videos that we have on the channel. Give some suggestions, make some comments. If you know anything about this story, go ahead and talk about it in the comments. Let's have a little bit of fun with that. But I found that story very interesting because I had something to compare it to it. So I'll see you guys next time on the Music Mindset channel.